Good morning, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Thank you for joining our Packaging Suite 5.0 webinar. My name is Jeroen Braak. I will be your moderator for today's webinar, and I'm responsible for the Rinette business development in the Americas and Asia Pacific, but also a very passionate application packager in a previous life and founder of AppManage event, one of the largest industry events for application packagers, scripters, sequencers, and everyone interested in managing applications for the enterprise. Actually, our next event is on October 6th in the beautiful city of Utrecht. That's in the Netherlands, in Europe. And Rinette is proud to sponsor this event and present their latest solutions. As you can see on the screen, if you want some more information, you can check that out on appmanageevent.com. I would like to introduce today's presenter. It's Marcin Otorowski. It's our Rinette's development team leader and responsible for Packaging Suite 5.0. He will help me with the demo and the presentations in a few minutes. But before we start, I would like to let you know that we will record this webinar, and the instructions on how to access the on-demand presentation will be sent to you by email or can be found on our website. So if you have any questions about that, I think I answered that already. Any questions that you would have, if you have the opportunity to have some questions for us, this can be done in the chat panel. We'll answer them either after the demo in the QA session or during the session if that's relevant. Okay, next slide, please. So what we will discuss today in our webinar is a quick introduction to our company, Rinette, a quick introduction to our products and solutions suite, especially the packaging suite. And then as quick as possible, because I know you like that, a live demonstration of Packaging Suite 5.0, and we'll close that with a Q&A session and then some information and contact slides. So let's talk about Rinette. So Rinette has been founded in 1999. It's a long time ago. That was in the time that the first MSI was created. We lead a team of like 100 employees, and we have many locations in Germany. We got some in Europe and also in America, in Chicago. We have many customers spread around the world. I think even much more than the 600 that are on this slide, but focusing on application lifecycle management, on the SAM, software asset management, and helping organizations and enterprises in their migrations for Windows 10 and previous operating systems. We deliver a lot of professional services like packaging, project management, SAM implementations, and of course, with that, we got a lot of product support and a great team that can do trainings at your location or remote. So if you look at the products, as you probably heard, today's session is about the packaging suite, but we have a lot of other products as well. I think the most important one is RayFlow, of course, which is our cloud-based or web-based product for project management or process workflow management. But if you look at the lower, the nice colored blocks, you see a couple of blocks that are talking about SAM or license management, and then in the black boxes you see the products that are referencing. Rayventory is our inventory and discovery solution, helping you to get a better overview of what's out there in the world, in your estate, and helping you to migrate your applications, getting a better look into what kind of applications are running on those machines. RaySemi is our extended solution in the SAM, where we not only do inventory discovery, but we will also completely take over your license management, contract management, and helping you to reduce your cost around that topic. Renin is our service management solution, ITSM service management solution, helping you from a request up to a deployment of a service, a product, and then we have our packaging suite, which we will discuss mostly today. It contains RayEval, our documentation solution, our packaging solution RayPack, and our quality assurance products RayQC and RayQC Advanced. And RayQC Advanced is our app compat solution to help you test your applications for Windows 10, for virtualization, and for many other things. And then at the most right side of the spectrum, we've got our Ray ManageSoft solution, which is a software deployment solution, OS deployment solution, and patch management solution. Really a tool for the enterprise. And I think most people would compare that with SCCM, but as other producers would also say, our product is a little bit better than that. We have a lot of unique selling points for against SCCM, especially around the delivery of applications and knowing when they are being delivered. And then the last but not least, or actually not last, but it's Ray Mobile, our mobile device management solution. So if you have any challenges in the mobile device management side of things, please contact us. We can help you out there. And of course, if we look a little bit up in the sky to the clouds, we will see that we have a package store in the cloud that can help you. And if you have a lot of packages that you have to create, or you have a lot of challenges with resources, you can download most packages from our package store. It is completely integrated with our RayFlow or with any of our products in the packaging suite. So it's easy to download an application, prepare it for deployment, and have it rolled out in a matter of minutes instead of hours or days. But I'm sorry, I got a silent here. I've got the package store will be also talked about by Marcin. Thank you so much for that. Marcin, maybe it's a good time to give you the controls and get you into the live demo.
Yeah, thanks. Hello. I'm just waiting a few seconds until my machine is up and running. So I'm going to present now the live part of the webinar today. So the main topic is obviously Packaging Suite 5.0, but as a matter of fact, we'll like to, and that's also my idea, to actually tell some comprehensive stories. So what I'll be doing, I will show and I will use RayFlow, another product from Packaging Suite, to work on a single package showing how we are doing the transitions from the audio interface until the very last deployment. And as I will be jumping from product to product, showing various functions for the enterprise application lifecycle management, I'll be also discussing new features that we've implemented in 5.0 release. So I think it will be cool for both those of you who haven't seen Packaging Suite or its component yet, but also for those of you who, were pretty much already using one of the earlier versions of the product. So they will be able then to see what kind of cool features and what are the new directions that we are following here. So about the concept, there is RayFlow server, which I will be using extensively. So I cannot imagine professional enterprise packaging without any proper workflow solution, which is something that RayFlow does. In terms of technicalities, this is just a server applications which pretty much tracks all your packages, statuses, tools, user accounts, their permissions, and then produces also the very, very important reports. This is running now in a server which I have here behind. So I have two machines, but I won't be using the second one. I'll be showing everything on my client. And speaking of RayFlow, we're going first to the tool, which is accessible first of all via the browser URL. So let's just give it a moment, and that's just one of the endpoints possible. The other one would be a client tool, which I'm also going to start. And the difference is that with the client tool, you have access also to the integration we provided between the other components, like interaction with desktop apps, your scripts, tools, but also components of Packaging Suite is, well, the way it's working in Windows and as a general way of security is not possible from the browser window, but you can integrate these functionalities from the desktop client, which I've just started. So the first thing that you might see, if you had any experience with any previous version of our product, is the refreshed and consolidated new UI. So it's not only about making it prettier and snappier, but also giving some more prominent place to the important content. So we've reduced the shell, the title of application bar, and devoted most of the place to the things that actually matter. So list of packages, tables, reports, and so on and so on. So I'm going first to log into the web version, which also got tweaked UI. And I'm going to log in using my credentials. For your information, everything I'm doing today is using admin credentials. That's because I just simply want to have as many options as possible on one screen without a need to jump from one account to another or from one machine to another. But obviously, the enterprise packaging requires that, well, there will be at least several users with different permissions level. For example, you may define that your packaging engineer, they should not be able to see the audio interface or user acceptance interface. Or QA engineers, that they should not be able to go into the evaluation. That's always possible, but let's keep the thing simple. One account, one machine, so that we can follow the story. RayFlow supports multi-users and multi-project scenarios. That means, especially for service providers who are working with several customers, it's perfectly possible and recommended to split different project settings, different workflows, users, and groups between different projects. So what you can see on the screen now here in the center, that's just the default project called packaging. But in real life, there will be most likely more projects available over there, just like I said, to separate concerns, so that not all users might necessarily have access to all of them. And then you can define that your customer A is having, for example, slightly different workflows than the customer B, different reporting, different SLAs, and so on and so on. I have no other choice here but just to go into the only available project. And once I click that, I'll be in a dashboard. So here again, there was a overhaul of the visuals here of the interface, which will be common across the web version, but also all the clients, which I'm going to show in a moment. What is the common thing is that in a dashboard, depending on which product you are actually in, you might see on the right side some recent items, maybe small reports and charts, and the left side would be for quick links and quick actions, like creating new projects, opening, going to tracking, reports, and so on and so on. Again, this is like product specific. So that's how RayFlow looks like. The left side is a sidebar of many options and tools that RayFlow provides. There is certainly not enough time for me to cover all of them, but I will certainly try to show the most important features and feature highlights of this new 5.0 release. What you can see in the top are the phases. So we split our workflow into different phases, and it is assumed that the package must travel from the left to the right hand side, from the package order into the deployment. The process itself is configurable, so you can have as many phases as you want. They may have different names, icons, colors. The transitions might be also defined by you. And what I have already mentioned, this is all project specific. So different customers, different divisions, different projects may just simply get some different settings over there. So let's go first to the audio interface. I'm actually not ordering a new package. I've just done this to save some time. But one of the interesting stuff that the 5.0 release brings is the new view to import your packages. So it was always possible, has been always possible to create a new task just from scratch by typing manual info to clone or import. But this new view, the package store, is a list of software packages which we have in our store. These are products which are pre-configured with out-of-the-box configurations, which are then still configurable by the user. I think if I have some time at the end of this presentation, I may also show how this works, taking from the equation all the e-commerce part, so how just easy it is to create a package with Package Store. It's the first load, so it may take just a few more seconds, but after it's done, you will see the list of products that we support, and you can, well, pretty much grab some pre-configured version of all of them, use the search to find your app, sort by version, platform, and so on and so on. That's something which is, like I said, a new feature highlight of RayFlow 5.0. Like I said, I have already my package imported, so I'll just simply go to first, so to say, productive phase package order acceptance. And this is just a standard view you'll be working with RayFlow. It's just showing the list of, let's say, items. It doesn't have to be actually a package. You might use RayFlow to track your tickets, items, support, but certainly for this demo, we'll be using a lot the word package because it's just about the software packaging. And depending on the view, depending on the phase, you may have some different columns. But the important thing is that each item, each package has its own row. And if you click on that, you will see some more options describing what kind of package is that. You can also see the history and so on and so on. So this view might be familiar to all of you who have already worked with RayFlow. I'm just showing some small little improvement which we did over there. Like you see, the list is pretty much not that lengthy, but the more packages you have, the more difficult it is to, for example, track comments and files. So one of the new smaller additions in 5.0 is a so-called single task view, in which you just see all the details of a single package on one screen, and then you can use your just normal scroll bars to reveal some more content. This is a new package. It doesn't have any comments, it doesn't have any files, but as I'll be traveling through the workflow process that I've prepared for the webinar today, there will be some more content coming in, and we'll be able to track them, also using the history view, which I'm going to demonstrate soon. So the standard procedure of how one works with RayFlow would be to always accept the task to our user. We have a feature called locking, so that other users might not be able to touch anything unless the package is, so to say, released from my account. This is done pretty much easy by selecting a status. The statuses or transitions are also configurable, so it doesn't have to be like that you will find the same in all RayFlow instances, but the idea is always pretty much the same. So changing the status to active would assign the package to me. So here it's the admin account. There are some additional fields like the SLA and category, which are pretty, well, more advanced, but you can still use them for really enterprise packaging, like using holiday calendar and given SLA calculators. You may display different statuses of your packages, and then you may know which are really critical and which have to be solved with highest priority. But that's, like I said, a bit more advanced topic, so let's first skip it for a moment. Now, that's the package we have, and in that phase, package order acceptance, there is really not that much to do, well, depending on what you are expecting from the users to do in any single phase, but this one was just simply verify that everything is fine in place, and let's assume it's the case. So what is the next step? And that will be pretty much repeating. So assigning the package to my account, doing something on that package, for example, packaging, creating a document, sending a report, testing, and so on and so on. And finally, uploading the results, documents, reports, and changing the status to finished. The package may be also rejected, so it can also travel to the left side. And this is something you may also include in your customized in RayFlow instance. Let's first assume that we'll be going to the compatibility phase to start a compatibility assessment for that very package. So that's the status, and if I accept, you will notice that the package is going to be gone from the POA phase, so it's just now 4 packages in that phase, and instead we'll be able to see that in the compatibility assessment. We can go to the next phase, And the package is again not assigned to anyone. So again, this encourages multi-user working in the same package. For example, the different user might test than the user that actually did an evaluation, which is actually making a lot of sense. It's easier to find mistakes if different people are working in different phases. But again, the same procedure applies. So I'm going to first assign this package to my account by changing the status to active and accepting. Now, we could repeat that procedure many times, and we can now do some manual stuff, but truly interesting part would be how to integrate the automation part, how to automatically start a packaging tool, how to automatically create a documentation, how to automatically create reports of assessment, or maybe how to just simply start your own tools that you developed. So this is something that, well, I've said already, it's not really possible directly from the web interface, and this is why there is a second flavor of RayFlow, and that's the desktop app. I'm going to quickly repeat the login procedure here and go into the same phase I was just into. Yes, I know, password has to be changed, security, and go into the dashboard. So we are in the client app, and again, for those that have already seen RayFlow for one, there is a overhauled user interface which brings a lot of freshness, is snappier, works faster, and also there are several performance which makes it just cooler to work with all our products. There are 20 packages in my workflow. We can see some quick charts on the right-hand side, including the task by status. You see that there are some on hold, but the important part for me is to go to my compatibility assessment to have a look on the package that we have just added. So I'm going to maximize the screen to reveal all the details. The package is already assigned to me, so we can see that over there, admin EU. And now the additional option that the RayFlow desktop client is offering is hidden here. That's called Tools. And like I said, by default, each RayFlow can speak to, well, pretty much all of the components of the packaging suite, but you can also extend that, add own components, scripts, and tools, and you can also use our public interfaces to customize our default ways how the programs are communicating and working. So for this very demo, I have here a tool which will do the following. It will start a silent RayQC Advanced, which is one of the components of Packaging Suite. And RayQC Advanced responsibility is to, I would say very, very generally, to assess compatibility or anything else that might be, for example, virtualization. That can be collisions with other packages, with snapshots, with merge modules, and so on and so on. But by the virtue of the fact that we use a lot of plugin stuff, we can pretty much extend that concept to anything, even custom, that particular environment requires, including some updates to new technologies or updates to existing ones, which are just simply changing. And Windows 10 here being a good example, the speed and pace Microsoft is releasing new stuff. But for this part, what I'll be interested in is to test whether my package 7-zip can work on Windows 10. This is running now fully silent, so the only result we will be able to see is just a file uploaded to RayFlow. That's, by the way, also, so I'm going to click that. The process is going to be starting now. And that's also one of the interesting parts of RayFlow. Every single file and every single comment you add to the project, doesn't matter in which phase and by whom, is going to be saved, and you cannot change it. Even if it's your comment or your file, you cannot change it anymore, which is also reasonable if you think about challenges of the enterprise packaging. Imagine, for example, that there is a package order from the customer which already has been evaluated, but then at some point later on, the requirements are changing. So by the virtue of the fact that nothing in RayFlow gets, so to say, lost, you can always have a full history, and you can see the original document that has been sent, the original comment, original evaluation, original package, and so on and so on. And in the good example would be the report I've just put there. So this report will be visible by anyone who's going to pick that package later on in packaging or quality control, and so on and so on. I can also have a quick look how it looks like. And as you can see, there are a couple of issues. It's just fine. We will learn soon how to overcome it and how to work with RayQC Advanced to be effective at this. But it's just to give you an idea that several components can work, so to say, silently, produce the results, upload the RayFlow, and you may have them for your reference. So how exactly this is working and what can we do to, well, have no errors and make sure that the product can run on a particular system, we are going to learn it very, very soon. So that's just the file that has been included. And I can also add a quick comment, which may be also some help for people who will be picking that package later. But now using my procedures, I would normally say that the work is done. So I did some assessment. Let us assume that it is not a blocker. We can continue. And I'm going to click change status to finished. So this will automatically trigger a transition and my package will go from the compatibility into evaluation. So let's go here and have a look on 7-zip. We can always accept it the way we normally do. And now the package belongs to me. What you can now see on the right-hand side is the history. And the history is now getting a bit, bigger. So we can see some recent actions. We can see who did what and when, like an upload of file has been done 2 minutes ago from my account in the compatibility phase. And obviously, the more actions you made, the more entries you will see over there. There's also another generic view and generic reporting, which may show all the packages at once. So you always have an overview of what is the state of your packaging project, where are the packages, why are they on a hold, who's working on them, and so on and so on, the way you like and the way you need it. So we are now in the eval phase, evaluation. So to create a documentation showing how to configure and how to install, or even potentially how to test the product later when doing user acceptance tests, we have another module called Raivo. So this is how it looks like. Again, it also received the new UI as other products from the Packaging Suite 5.0 line, and it's showing also the same common concept. So there is a dashboard, quick links, recent items, and ability to work directly with RayFlow with the help of this button in the right top corner. Before I start Raivo from RayFlow client to show you the automation, let me just quickly press the Start New Project to show 2 new features that we've implemented in Raivo since the last release. So, except for the performance, some new improved UI, there are 2 new ways how you can create new packages or how can you import them. So one of them would be that instead of creating a typical evaluation in which you have a bunch of screenshots with descriptions how to configure and test the product, there is now also another possibility to create a test rail, which is basically a comparison between expected and the actual state. And this can be used to automatically populate the test rail instance if you have an account, specifically useful for software developers to quickly create a documentation claiming that has to be done and tested like that and that. The third button is a wizard which allows you to import your packages from RayFlow, and it's useful if you don't have RayFlow client or from some reason you don't want to start the RayFlow client. Then you can do pretty much everything, all these actions, getting the data, mappings, and so on directly from that wizard and start working on the project. But I'm going to show first how this works automatically from the RayFlow client. So again, this is a concept of the tools. There is also one which is attached over there called Renin Raivo, and I'm simply going to start it to see what is the result. So yes, let's start it. So now, as you can see, we are not anymore in the dashboard screen. There is just another screen showing which already summarizes our details which were automatically pulled from RayFlow. That includes the name, the version, the vendor, the language, but you can also certainly define your own mappings if you need anything more in your document or if you have some more extra fields in RayFlow instance. For the demo, I'll just simply take them over the way they are. It's just for your information that everything that you can see on that very screen is customizable, and you can add your own fields or remove or change the defaults that we provided. But the important part would be how to create a document. There are obviously several options how you do this manually. So you could start Microsoft Word. You can maybe have Paint running in the background. You can make manual capture using different tools, or even standard Alt print screen hotkey in Windows to get some screenshots, then write some descriptions. But that's just a long way to actually achieve something which you don't really care about how to do that, but you certainly know what's the business logic and how to configure your app, how to test it. And that's something which should be important and not necessarily the techniques. So let me show you something which we created for RayEval. There are a couple of tabs which you can see in the top of my screen. There are also as many of things in RayEval configurable, and I'm going to simply start in an installation, just simply skipping the preparation part, because for that very simple app, I have nothing to prepare. Now, what we can do, we can now start our 7-zip installation by using this button, or just manually from desktop, but at the end, the result would be the same. So the window is starting. Now, in the background, there are some screenshots which are generated automatically. Depending on what you click, what you do, there may be some different content, different description, and different picture taken. For example, when just simply starting the installation, it asks you to double-click on the product. But what if you use a combination of Control and left mouse button on the window? Well, in the background, the screenshot is automatically taken, and it shows that the window should be in that state. That's still, I would say, not impressive. So let's have a look. What would happen if we click on the next button using the same strategy? And as you can see in the background, the button has been cropped from the whole picture, and the description has been auto-generated to actually indicate that you have to click that button. So simple yet effective, and for 99%, you don't have to actually write anything else. Just click the installation the way you would normally install it, go to the program, configure it the way you want it, and with this auto-documenting mechanism, you get your documentation simply done without all the hassle. So if you do the same on the checkbox, this will also capture it and say, tick this checkbox to have this option enabled. I can now repeat the same procedure with some more elements, like getting the whole window, getting the next screen, saying that, for example, one feature should be disabled. So let's disable that, and also with Control and left, capture the screen, and also to make it even better, capture the whole window to make sure that the window looks like that. And finally, we should add the very last screen. Now, what I'm doing now is normally to be done on some virtual machine, which can be safely reverted back to the original state, so that you can install, in that case, 7-zip, that you can start this product, you can configure, maybe disabling updates, splash screens, and whatever might be not really required by our packaging standards, so to say, and maybe test the product. But I'm not going to do that. I'll just simply leave this program uninstalled because I just want to have this machine clean. It will be useful later on to make some tests and so on and so on. So I'm just clicking cancel, but that's just not a part of my normal routine. In any case, the documentation has been more or less done. Just for your information, it's not only the part of the MSI window that you can capture. I can do the same with literally everything. Like I can capture, for example, the part of start screen. I can capture a text box here. And as you can see, the descriptions are always relevant. So it says type dot and dot into the text box called search box, auto-created, and it's actually now ready to be exported with no more tweaks. You could still now perform some post-installation steps, which are in that tab, or test procedure, but for the demo, it's just fine to have these 10 steps over there. So now, how do we get back to RayFlow? How do we inform other users that there is a document which shows how to configure the product? Well, it's pretty easy. We're going to File menu and saying that the documentation is to be exported in PDF format, but not to your disk, but rather to RayFlow. So we'll just simply skip that part and not export anything locally. We'll use the default template, and well, we're ready to go. So when you click export, the documentation is now converted into PDF format, and at the end it will be uploaded into RayFlow. Then I'll be able to close RayEval and have my results in my workflow tool. So let's have a look. I'm not going to save the project, and refreshing the view should give me now the second file. And it's there. So that's the one. And I can even open it just to quickly show what has been captured. And well, surprise, surprise, that's the 7-zip version 17 with data which has been automatically pulled from RayFlow. The table of contents we can skip. And here is the most important part. So preparation, there was nothing, but in the installation part, there are all the screenshots that I captured with the descriptions and highlighting showing the important bits. So that's now pretty cool and well-looking documentation, which is now in RayFlow. So anyone having access to internet, to web browser, can have a look what kind of document is that, what has been required, and also can test whether what has been done here actually matches what has been packaged later on in reality. So that's how the documentation looks like. And by the way, you can also tweak the way the documentation looks like. The colors, logos, positions, and so on and so on. Everything is as easy as opening our template in Microsoft Word, adjusting what you need, saving, and there you go. You have your own document which contains maybe the elements your organization requires. So that's the end of the evaluation part. What was just shown in RayEval were these two new features to create something directly from RayFlow without a need to have RayFlow client installed. And the other one, which I skipped due to time reasons, was the test rail, but you just at least know where to look for that. And by the way, there is certainly not enough time for today to cover everything. And I'll be just showing some interesting parts, interesting functions, but there is way more to discover. We have a pretty extensive release notes documentation and free trial versions you can get. So I would really encourage that after the webinar, you get your own personal copy of trial version, and you can also repeat what I've just done with my instance. And the release notes will give you a clue what kind of cool things are new in our products. Now let's go back to the packaging suite. So RayEval has been just done, and I'm going to, as always, change its status from active to finished. So the package will be now moved into the packaging phase, and it's that 7-zip. So again, the same standard procedures except in the package, and it now belongs to the admin. Now there are several choices you can continue. It's a packaging, so we'll be certainly doing something with that package, and you can use still the tools concept to start RayPack from RayFlow client to have the project opened, and then you can continue working and save the results back. But there is also another possibility. Again, you can use that if you don't have RayFlow client or you don't want to use that. If you open RayPack, which again with the new UI looks pretty much similar to RayEval, the learning curve is at least not that steep. So as long as you know any product from Rinette, it's just so easy to jump into the other one. And I will use some common functionality, which is to log into RayFlow, and then I'll be able to see my packages and grab them directly from there. So the project is packaging, and I'm now logged in. There is also some small new addition, which you can see next to this RayFlow button. RayPack supports and has been ever supporting profiles, so that you can have different packaging settings for different requirements, different customers, different divisions, different types of software, and so on and so on. But what was complained from our users was that changing of the profiles was a bit difficult, because every single time you had to go to the settings, go through the tree of settings, change what you need, save, and then you had your own new profile. So we made a really big change in the title bar by allowing the users to change the profile from here. So that means you may now have some entries over there and be able to dynamically switch them. So doing repackaging for customer A, and then immediately switching to customer B and tailoring the MSI according to their requirements. So it just makes it easier to work with different settings for different packaging products within one single application instance. Now, being in the RayPack view, we are now logged into RayFlow, so we can now open our package, and I'll just do it from here. Open RayFlow task, and that should be the packaging. I'm still talking about the 7-zip, and there is just one file which has been assigned to that package, which is, well, an MSI file. So the package will be opened, and we are now in the Pack Designer view. This Pack Designer view also received some improvement to the UI, so it can show more information at once. Some crispier icons are there, clearly identifying the content behind. But the interesting part I wanted to show you is the complexity index. So while we already had that feature in the past, now it got some really powerful boost by allowing you to, first of all, understand the nature of that number and customize the way it's calculated. It's especially important for those use cases which require setting up an SLA, which might, on the other hand, depend on how complex the package is. So for the complexity, I'll go to the third tab, which you can see just to the bottom of the screen, which is also a new addition in RayPack 5.0, and that's called plugins and macros. And here there are a couple of out-of-the-box items which we deliver, and one of them is complexity index. So this view gives you a clue what has affected our complexity calculation. But if you decide that something was not really according to your need, or you may define that something is more important than we thought, you may always click the button, configure the way complexity is calculated, and then configure which items you want to consider and how important are they. So I'm not going to do it right now, but this is how this view looks like, and it's really flexible, allowing you to do pretty much anything. And then the index is automatically refreshed according to your configuration. There's also some nice plugin to automatically search in IT Ninja for information about the product, and if you go to that, it will look for the product in their database. There are tons of entries right now because it's looking for everything: blog items, links, articles. So normally a good idea is to limit just only to the software. And if you do that, so just searching for the software, there will be just one link leading you to the corresponding entry in IT Ninja showing how can you configure and what are the maybe known issues and known packaging issues with that product. So that's just bringing us to this website. That's just a simple ad, so there is not really much content here, but you just get the idea how this is supposed to be working. Now, let us do some work so that we can upload this package to the RayFlow. I will use some concept which was already present in previous version of our packaging tool, which was called Reusable Template. And I will just simply import one to change the behavior of the add remove programs. So it's pretty much all about these three buttons here: uninstall, repair, and change. While I can do the changes manually, it's always a better idea to have this saved in a template and then just simply apply this template to all possible types of packages you might be working with. And with the transform menu, apply changes from the transform template. I just have an example which is ready over there, which says disable add remove programs. And it's just like you can see, it's disabling the three buttons, and it's very straightforward to define your own templates for anything that you might need in all your packages. So branding, registry entries, active setup are pretty much typical stuff you may achieve with that functionality. So that's a pretty much simple change, but it will be just enough so that I can later show how to make a quality control of the product. So let's simply save the results as an MST file. So I'm going to save it somewhere here. And I want to discuss one or a couple of new additions. So my project is now ready. I can go back to RayFlow and continue. But let's stop for a moment and let me discuss these new additions. So first of all, you can now plug in your own scripts written in PowerShell or VB script to actually make some automation on your product. For example, there is one that we deliver out of the box just to give an idea and an example how to set up things to reset all GUIDs that we have in a package. So pretty much creating a standalone version that doesn't have anything in common with the previous one. Straightforward, but really shows how this feature is supposed to be working. You can obviously add some more entries here, your own trees and structures of scripts. But the important part is if I start the script, reset GUID, and then go back to my tables view, you will notice that automatically in behind there are several changes that were done by the script. What kind of changes? Obviously, it's up to you, but yeah, so now all the GUID and the components are changed, and I think also a couple of impropriety. Yeah, so it's even more than the concept of templates we have in version 4.1. It's actually allowing you to do the automation with custom logics and using, well, pretty much very well known PowerShell, VBScript, or anything else that may work on an MSI package, potentially reusing all the tools and utilities you might have or that you may find in the internet. So that's how the concept of script is working within RayPack. Speaking of PowerShell, one nice addition that our users were requiring was an integration of PowerShell, but as a custom action inside the MSI session. So the MSI doesn't offer a native support of PowerShell. We've added that with the 5.0 release, and I'm just quickly going to show how this works. So let's create a new action which uses PowerShell. The selection of how exactly it's stored, it's not that much relevant at this point, but this one is really important. So the content of my script, and now I can use the PowerShell, either here, the editor, or use some external editors if you prefer to have some better intelligence or suggestions or some better IDE support. But it's also fine for some small scripts to, for example, use our snippets, which we deliver as examples. And as you can see, RayPack can work with properties of the session. It's a true integration. And as an example, I will show you how to get a property and just simply display it on string. Very, very straightforward. We will get the product name from my session, so to get the name of the currently installed product, and we will display it using the message box, where the message would be hello property value. Not really impressive, but clearly demonstrates how a simple script can be written. So if I'm now going next, I will be able to say whether it's a deferred or immediate action. So let's skip the technicalities and let's run this custom action at the very beginning of our UI sequence, just to have it and see that it works. So I'm going to accept the wizard, and let us have a look what happens if I start this package. So it will make a quick build and quick test, and the very first thing that you'll see should be a message box calling hello 7-zip. So clearly that 7-zip part, that one comes from a PowerShell session. And you can also change the values of the session properties and use anything else you've been using in VBScript or DLL custom actions, including resolution of properties, features, paths, session properties, and so on and so on. All of this supported now through the proxy from RayPack to work within the MSI session. So that's the PowerShell part. Some other nice additions in RayPack before we switch to the next component. If you go quickly to the project, to the build settings, you will see that what we did with App v5 integration in RayPack, so ability to convert and build MSI or legacy products into the virtual format, is that you are able to target a specific App v version. That includes 5.0, 5.1, and also App v for Windows 10, the one that is integrated starting from build 16.07. All of them have, well, slight changes. Sometimes some new features were added. And for example, I think that, yeah, we can see it over there, that the full VFS integration is only available, I think, from Service Pack 1 hotfix 4, if I recall correctly. Yeah, Service Pack 2 hotfix 4, pretty much. So this new option will be available in RayPack as soon as you target the hotfix 4 from that very list. And that's something completely new. Previously in RayPack, you were only able to target a generic 5.0, so to say, FT package. We have also added a lot of new options here, which are now consolidated across the profile. So anything you set for the app V is now profile specific, which is also something different that we had in the past. Some of the settings were global, some of them in profile. Now it's everything clean up and everything is in one single place. Now, what you can also see here is the completely new tab called Epics UWP. So with RayPack, you are now able to convert your apps in MSI, RPP, MST formats, but also repackage them from the legacy ones directly to Epic's universal platform using Desktop Bridge. So that's a new feature from Windows Creators Update. You can sideload your apps which are not native AppX packages, but using the bridge to deliver Win32 technology into Windows 10, for example, Store, and also using lots of new features and improvements of the AppX technology, like installation per user, and so on and so on. Not all apps may support that. There are some limitations from Microsoft, but in order to discover them, we'll simply go in a matter of minutes into RayQC Advanced, which also got some upgrades, and I'll show you how to test whether packages can be actually converted into the new AppX format. So a couple of settings over there, and you can set an accent color, the architecture language, and then the package is going to be automatically created and converted to the AppX format by this new version of RayPack 5.0. Speaking of a new project, this is something I was already showing Reusable, and also RayPack got some upgrade over there. So if we go back, there is an option to create a new project, and we have a couple of new things over there. One of them is, well, integration with Package Store. So we can see the same list that I was also showing in RayFlow to see what kind of software are we offering with this predefined but still configurable configurations. You can search, filter, or show only, for example, 32-bit apps released within particular time from particular vendor, and so on and so on. And at the end, you may go to our store to get them into basket and, well, pretty much get the product configured the way you want it. So that's the new ability to create a new project, not from scratch, but from the package store, and that list is updated on our side, so there is no need to get upgraded RayPack, and so every single day you start it, you'll just get a new updates that Rinette prepared for you. Another thing which we added over there is a new radio button which lets you switch between Windows and Mac, and in this version 5.0 we added initial support for creation of Mac OS packages, and we are supporting currently the PKG format. It's pretty much offering the same user experience as the Pack Designer for Windows, just some options, maybe less, depending on the technology. But other than that, the Pack Designer users should find familiar in our new views how to create the Mac OS packages. So that's the two new additions which we added over there. And before we jump to the last part, maybe just a quick mention of two additional stuff which we also have in the product. And that is integration with the deployment systems. Oh, and by the way, this window is also some new, small, but cool feature requested by our users. If you are opening an MSI and RayPack detects that there is some candidating MST which might potentially be applied, you will be asked whether you want to do that. So effective, maybe save some time, but let's first maybe open just only the MSI. And I'm going to have a look in the file menu for two things. One of them is an ability to send the packages to deployment systems. So you are able to use that feature with RMS, our tool to handle the deployment part, or to SCCM. However, on this environment, there is no server available, so I'm not really technically able to actually go through the wizard and show how the settings are looking like. And this deployment integration actually affects a couple of components in Packaging Suite 5.0 release. That's the RayQC Advanced, but also RayFlow, whether you can do that from the RayFlow client. Now, the last highlight I wanted to show is in build options inside the Windows installer. You can wrap your projects that you generate in the PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit. So when you select that option and generate your package, it will be automatically wrapped into the wrapper, the toolkit from PowerShell App Deployment Toolkit. and it will be then ready to deploy to any deployment system using some, so to say, standardized and consistent user interface if you use it for any other products in your company. So this is the place to find this option, and it's just zero touch. Just set this one, and RayPack does everything else for you. So let's stop here for a moment in RayPack. I've saved my transform, so I'm going to cancel that window, and the transform has been just saved in the local folder. So let's say the packaging is done. We can add a comment which says packaging finished, and we can go further. So change status to finished. Now we should be in the QA phase. There is 7-zip. So again, the same procedure accepting the package. Now we're going to start RayQC, the checklist, which is a tool which can help and aid QA engineers to perform even complex checklists, how to check whether the package is created according to our standards, best practices, guidelines, and so on and so on. So I'm going to start RayQC. And again, this is the same situation as with RayEval. So I have here my dashboard, which is also upgraded in the version 5.0 of RayQC. But right now, from RayFlow, this is going to open a new instance which starts directly where I want it to start. So, for example, the path is automatically taken. Now, on purpose, I will leave the MST part empty. That's because I want to show you how the checklists are actually working and that it's actually showing some errors which we predefined previously. So that very checklist is pretty simple. There is an MSI. There is an option to specify by user whether the file is there or not. But there is also an automation possibility. If you click on the button, if it's available on the right-hand side, it will do the automation hidden behind. So check whether the file exists and set the correct option for you. Likewise, we can use all of them to actually get, for example, the GUIDs, the command to install the product, and so on and so on. But the important part is here, the verification of properties. If I switch one of them, you can see that the property ARP no repair is not in my product. And that's actually something which I kind of expected, because that's exactly why I created my transform, to be able to disable these free properties. So let's go back, one step back, and let's actually select this transform which I've just created using RayPack, that it should be also considered by RayQC. And if I do that, and then start again, maybe the whole group, and overwriting what we've done before, you will see that the properties are now correctly read, which is now an indication that my transform has actually fixed some issue I was not going to accept otherwise in my product. And also this green color here means that the values of 1 were actually the ones I expected. There are some more steps. You can automate the installation, you can open the installation logs, you can verify the exit code, and so on and so on. All of this is actually pretty straightforward to edit using our improved user interface of the editor view. I'm not going to go that much into details how to use the plugins. Let me just only say that there are a couple of new ones which we added inside the product, for example, for a better communication with RayFlow. And here is the editor view, and you can confirm that all these steps which we defined are now there. The view is a bit more compactor for those who've been already working with RayQC for one. And the new feature is that you can use the search mechanism. For example, if you type uninstall, it will show you all the fields that have this string inside. And if you just simply click on one of them, the field is going to be highlighted. So it's now even more easier to actually work with big checklists, having really 30, 40, 50, or even hundreds of steps. Just use the search functionality to locate what you are requiring. So that's the checklist. The last thing which we have not done yet is, as always, to upload a report to Raivo. Let's for the time being skip the six fields which I'm not going to provide right now. So just simply go to the RayFlow part and say that we are going to upload it to Raivo. So, okay. And this will be pretty much the same what we've already done with RayEval and RayQC Advanced. So the report is there in RayFlow. It cannot be changed anymore. I can now close the product without saving my changes. And when I go back and the view is going to be refreshed, you will see that we have a new file over there, which is, where is it? The QA here. And this looks like that. So I was expecting that 6 of the fields that were simply empty will be reported over there, but that will be pretty much the view that you may expect inside the report. So all the values, everything that has been done with that checklist, what has been read, which transform, and finally the results, whether something is missing or not, is now reported, and the template itself is configurable, so you can put your own logo on fields, the signature, change the way it looks like, and so on and so on. So that's the third report we just created using the using this tool. Now we actually have already visited all major components of Packaging Suite, maybe except of RayQC Advanced, which was just only started in silent mode. So I'm going to go to the RayQC Advanced part and show how this works. Now we will be going through some new additions to RayQC Advanced, so I think it might be a good idea to first of all go to the rules to show what new rule sets and what new options are there in your 5.0 release. So there should be actually 2 important stuff. One is the epics. So like I said, it's possible with RayPack to create epics, UWP packages using the bridge technology, but to verify that a package can be actually converted, you may use RayQC Advanced to perform a series of checks. So there are, I think, a couple of them, 12. One of them is by default disabled. So Microsoft recommends this, but we found that it actually works after conversion. So while the rule is there, we are by default ignoring its results and writing a comment that it's our recommendation, which you can see here. So I'm going to show you a quick report soon, how this exactly works later on. And there's also the nano server support. Finally, in the system readiness, what you can see is that Windows 10 is not anymore just Windows 10, as it used to be in RayQC 4.1, but instead we've split into several, so to say, subversions of Windows 10, including the Creators, Anniversary, and November update, and all of them in both 32 and 64-bit variants. So that's one new addition into RayQC Advanced. The third one, as we are still in the rule set, is in the virtualization part. So that's actually the same change that RayPack had. Instead of just one generic check for EBV 5.0, we can also split the rules for EBV 5.0, 5.1, 5 for Windows 10, and so on and so on. So you can precisely target your packages when testing with RayQC Advanced. So now let's have a look how this actually works. The new UI is also a bit streamlined, so it's much easier to find the data you need, including the reports. But let's first start with the quick test. And I will simply do an ad hoc test without importing anything. I will just test one simple MSI against my library to find out whether it's compatible with, let's say, Windows 10 Creators updates and maybe some virtualization technology. So we'll test the installer package. We may leave all these options actually enabled just to see which rules would be enabled by default. Now we are going to test the 7-zip, so I'm going to quickly browse for that, and that's our 7-zip, just only one ad hoc MSI. Now this part is the collision detection. I've selected a checkbox to do that, so let me test whether my 7-zip can work with all MSI packages I have in my environment. If you have some snapshot imported into RayQC Advanced, the snapshots also can be visible in the next part. So that means that here you will be able to select which snapshot, for example, Windows 10 base image that you just can capture on your machine, can be used as a target for collisions. If you don't have any snapshot or you want to just test against some generic rules, then let's select them over there. And did I say Creators Update? Okay, let's then take Creators Update 64-bit from this drop-down menu. So what's going to happen is the package will be tested against that system, against all the packages I have in my library, whether they can work together or not. And finally, we've also selected the UWP. So I'm going to select the technology over there and one of AppV, like AppV 5.1, for example. You may also select more at once, but let's just keep it really simple. So one rule from every, so to say, type of what RayQC Advanced offers. So I'm going to accept that and just simply go to the testing. So the testing just takes one small moment. And after that, we'll be able to see what has just happened inside RayQC Advanced. So I assume that the results should be still red. As you remember, the original report that we did silently was also red. And that's because there is, and now we can also have a look at that, there is something which is making troubles over there. It's that the 7-zip has a 32-bit shell extension, which won't be recognized by 64-bit Windows Explorer. So what I'm going to do instead is, I would say that this is a known issue. The package is still working on Windows 10 because that DL might apparently be not used at all. It's just part of the package for some reason. So we may say that ignored, confirmed to be working. It's just an example of how the feature of approving your, so to say, expert opinion works. So if you select that and some of the rules might be also automatically marked for fixing, if we go next, there will be now a fixing progress, and at the end, the package is yellow, which means there are some smaller issues, but they should not change the fact that the package has found to be compatible. We may still review them, we may still make them fixed, but well, the report would clearly indicate how this looks like, and also gives them an idea of what kind of complexity is there behind. So let me quickly have a look. That's just a new version, so a bit different than the one I created silently. There are no errors, just 4 warnings, and one issue that has been approved and 4 that has been fixed. We can now go to the drill down to see that the virtualization brought a couple of issues with shell extensions and some conditions which were unable to be verified, whether they should be part of the virtual package or not. The collision is fully green, meaning that the package will work with anything we test against what we tested. And system readiness test, there is nothing red. There is something which we fixed, so this light green over there. Some of them were approved. There are some warnings, but at the end, everything seems to be fine. So everything that RayQC Advanced was able to fix is marked as such, so it has been fixed. And everything that is just a warning is also described like that, clearly indicating where is the issue. And then you can always go back to the interface of RayQC Advanced, find that rule, look it up, and read what is the solution for that problem and why are we actually checking for that. So this whole reference is part of the documentation, but also part of the product. So now I'm going to close it and go to the overview part. So it's just a comprehensive list of all the packages I have in my library. It shows clearly that some packages are, well, at least untested yet, like RayQC for system readiness. Some of them were tested and might be either green or yellow. And from that screen, you can always either repeat previous tests or start new one if you see something is missing. And all the apps that you import will be then listed on the left side, minus your filters that you can set up, like showing particular families or particular folders, etc., etc. So that's just a view which makes it easier to navigate in the items. And for the details, which reports have we started, that's this view, and it's showing, well, really detailed insight on how the product was tested, what are the issues, and whether there are any issues at all. So that would be the reports part. We still have like a couple of minutes. What I'm going to just simply to wrap it up is I'm going to go back and finish my 7-zip. So let's change the status to finished, and this would then go to the deployment. And as I said, the deployment in 5.0 RayFlow has now a possibility to deploy. So I have no console and no RMS here, but there will be an option to trigger the wizard, which you can use to import your packages into the digital deployment system you are using. So that's how this process looked like. Just a quick summary what we've done. We went through all important phases from the order to the deployment. I've shown a couple of interesting features of Packaging Suite 5.0, including integration with AppV different formats, with a new AppX converter, including PowerShell improvements in RayPack as custom actions or as scripting for macros and scripts, the new concept of plugins, configurable complexity, and there are really a lot of other tweaks and improvements, performance, but also those that are not visible. For example, I think that there was some question before the webinar about how RayPack can work with the AppV format. So I will just answer it right now, but as a quick introduction, there are a couple of, really a lot of fixes we did under the hood into the engine, how the packages are converted. So what you might definitely expect is some higher and better ratio, better success ratio of packages converted automatically from either MSI or legacy format into AppV 4.6 or 5.0. Now, the specific question was about whether we support AppV 4.6 and or 5.0. So the answer is, as you have already seen within the RayPack interface, yes, we can support both 4.6 and 5.0, 5.1, 5 unofficial 5.2, so AppV for Windows 10, and then the service packs for 5.0. And to build, you just simply go to the build menu, and then there is your AppV 5 or AppV 4.6. So yes, we do support that format. And now the last part of the question was about some more advanced topics, how to handle the decom or complas and how to handle drivers inside a package. So the first two, decom and complas, are known to be problematic with AppV. So even if you start a sequencer, it will issue warnings that the technologies are there. And well, the practice tells us that you normally should not have them in the package, but you can still try. You can still try to sequence or convert your package into the AppV 5 format, and then you just simply have to try it out, whether it works or not. There is no guarantee. They may, on some occasion, work. If they are not working, then you can simply follow some old procedures to extract the decom from your actual installation and then import to either a classic installation or use some script. So there are some techniques that you can overcome. And the same is about drivers. So drivers are generally not to be put into the virtual packages, but rather deployed via just, I would say classical approaches. So installing physically on the machine and then having the package, which is stripped from drivers, stripped from decoms and from complas and whatever else might not be supported. So that would be my recommendation as a, so to say, former packager, how I would do that with AppV. So I hope that this answers. I don't know who actually posed that question, but I hope this is now answered. So it's time, I think, for the Q&A session.
Yeah, thanks, Marcin. Yeah, great to see so many new features and improvements in the packaging suite. Also want to apologize for some of the background noise in the beginning of the session when I was speaking. All right, so let's see. We have some couple of questions that have been posted in the question box. Let me start with the first one. So Marcin, with the Ray Suite 5.0, does it still contain the functionality to work with XP and 2003? Some enterprise projects are still providing some of that support. It was a question from Craig.
Yeah, I had some troubles online. The first part of the question I could not hear. Can you repeat?
Oh, sorry. So the Ray Suite 5.0, does it still contain functionality to work, or does it support the XP and 2003?
Meaning that whether it works on XP and Server 2003 or whether the packages are working?
Well, maybe you can answer both.
Yeah, so the packages should pretty much be working except of PowerShell custom actions, which might require PowerShell 2.0. If there is no PowerShell on the target machine, it will not work regardless of whether it's Windows XP or 7 or whatever. I think 2.0 is currently the minimum, but obviously if you use some constructs in syntax in your PowerShell script, this may just simply bump it to the higher version. So if you are not using this, they should pretty much work on the older systems. Now, regarding the program itself, we are using .NET Framework 4.5, and I believe that Windows XP does not have any more updates to go into 4.5. I think 4.0 was the last version supported on Windows XP, and consequently on Windows Server 2003. So the answer would be then system has to have framework 4.5 in order to be able to run Packaging Suite.
Yeah, thanks. I also saw on the release notes that XP and 2003 are not on the list, so I guess that could also answer your question. Thank you. So another question, and that was, I think that was from Brian, and I think that was around Raivo. Can an admin edit any comments once made?
Can an admin add any comments once, meaning that editing the project after sending to RayFlow, or?
Yeah.
Or are this, which comments are made?
So I think maybe Brian, I'm not sure if Brian is still online. Let me see. So Brian, maybe I can unmute you so you can ask the question again.
Yeah, thanks for that. It was just to see, you mentioned during part of it that once a comment is made, that's it, it's fixed, it's set in stone, and it can't be changed. Now, I was wondering if at some point someone else can go in who's got elevated rights and change that comment. Say, for example, someone makes a comment and it's the wrong comment. They thought it was the right comment, but it turns out that it's the wrong comment, or there might be a reason for editing comments further down the line from a team leader's perspective. Is that possible?
I would actually have to now consult our RayFlow team. That's because for some time there was an option within some limited time to do that. I would have to check whether it's still there. To my knowledge, that feature has been disabled, but I cannot actually be 100% sure that we can get back to you after the webinar once I check that with RayFlow team.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll put you on mute again. Thank you, Brian. Actually, there's another question from Brian, and that's the Raivo capturing screenshots. Is it possible to have a single screenshot for each dialog with all changes highlighted? So not having a separate dialog with only next in it.
So the idea is to have one long or wide screenshot with all windows or buttons or whatever next to each other. Is this right? The way I understood. Right now, Raivo is like working on the smallest unit of a let's say an item, text and picture optionally. So after you are done with the capture, you can still reorder and add new stuff. So that's the reason why we are doing this in the form of a list. So showing step by step, screenshot by screenshot. There's right now no possibility to actually integrate them in one big picture. But if we learn what would be the use case and how you would use that feature, you can just write us via email or contact us directly. We may actually get to the product team and discuss how this could be brought into the product. We are really flexible and have some great colleagues working in support, so we can always suggest your own improvements, and a lot of them I was actually showing to you as improvements and features implemented, which were suggested by our users. So right now there is nothing like that, but just give us a use case and we may think how can we bring this into the product.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and of course you can always do it manually by highlighting it manually, but automatically that would be a little bit of a challenge then at this point. All right, thank you.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Maybe just one small addition, because I was actually not showing that. There is also two options to capture the whole screen or just a region. So you don't have to actually, rely on your window, but you can make a screenshot of this dashboard and have it present in Raivo. So maybe that would be also work around for some use cases. I don't know. Possibly, maybe.
Okay. Well, maybe I see a feature request that you can maybe edit the picture with some highlighting and some
Yeah, some small editing is
like
actually something which we are working internally. So
okay.
I hope that sometime we may have some good news about that.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, Brian, thanks for the great question and actually a hidden feature request there for us. Okay, I think there's another question here from Dominique. The question is there a way to automate the workflow to execute functions automatically? Good question. Thanks, Dominique.
Yeah, it just now the question is really broad. I would say that the purpose of RayFlow would be just to separate different kind of large activities. So like a packaging might take minutes, hours, or days. Same for QA and Eval. So this is more like to organize the work and have a good overview to management. Now, there is also a tool which I was actually not showing at all today. It's called Packbench, and it's more like a, I would say, drill down of some more low-level tasks, which also can be plugged in to achieve some level of automation. So I can actually quickly open it. It's similar to what I would say it's a bridge between RayQC and RayFlow. So allowing to create workflows and have them execute some specific tasks one by one to achieve, well, something that you might need, like starting conversion, getting IC errors, and so on and so on. So Packbench would be an option. This tool is, well, too complex to cover within an hour, so I'm not really going into much details. But once you get your trial, you can also give it a try and see if it's something that suits your needs. If it's just about normal automation of just the packaging, then two solutions I was showing today would be, I think, more than enough. And otherwise, all products have a really good command line interface. So with help of Docu, you can build some custom scripts and have the products working the way you want.
Okay, so Packbench would be an ideal tool to add actually tools and tasks and automated scripted command line options to automate the process in a long way. And that could be done, and then that could be an integration into RayFlow. So Packbench could be the tool that you would start within the work in a certain point in the workflow to do automated tasks by just running it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I hope, Dominique, that will answer your question. Actually, I think that was also the last question so far as I can see. So actually, what you can do and what most people will hopefully do in the next few days or hours, there is a 21-day full functional trial that you can download from our website. So it's fully functional. It has all the options in there. And you can just play around with it for 21 days, including, the Packbench, Reusable. You also have your own instance of RayFlow, so you can also really work from the cloud, as you may say so. They're really functional and really interesting to test and to evaluate. If there are no other questions, I'm just checking if there's anything coming in right now. Let me check the chat first, just 1 second. Nope. Then I think if you can just go back to the presentation again, Marcin, so I can do the final slides. So we did the QA. So this is the screen of the 21-day trial. You can go to our website at raynet.de or raynet-inc.com and get your download there. Some information about how to contact us. Of course, Raynet, the headquarters are in Germany, in Paderborn, beautiful Paderborn. But we also have several other locations, including for the Canadian or the US people in our call. You can call me directly or use our dial-in information at the Raynet Inc. Chicago office, and you will hopefully get me as soon as possible on the line, and I can help you with, in most cases, a lot of good questions, technical questions, but also any commercial questions that you might have. So that will conclude our webinar for today. I really thank you for your attendance. I hope you will all go now to the download website and start the evaluation, and looking forward to talk to you or meet you in person at the App Manage event in Utrecht on October 6th, where we are with the whole Rinette crew. Thank you again. Have a wonderful day.